Thank you so very much for being back. And if you just joined us, this is still Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's head straight to our conversation for today. Peter Obi has reacted strongly to the discrepancies discovered between the tax reform laws passed by the House of Representatives and the versions later gazetted and signed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, describing the situation as a dangerous shift from padded budgets to forged laws. The former Labour Party presidential candidate warned that such actions undermine public trust and threatens constitutional governance.
Very true. Now, in a statement titled Migrating from Padded Budget to Forged Laws, posted on his X account, Obi said Nigeria's leadership failure is becoming increasingly evident even at the highest levels of government. He stressed that the altercation identified are not minor administrative errors but serious breaches that expose deep institutional decay and disregard for due process.
He also said and expressed concerns over provisions that were allegedly introduced without legislative approval, including new enforcement and coercive powers for tax authorities. These include a mandatory 20% deposit before tax appeals can be heard, the sale of assets without judicial oversight, and the granting of arrest powers to tax officials. He warned that such measures directly affect taxpayers' rights and access to justice.
He also questioned the silence of the presidency in the face of allegations bordering on forgery and abuse of process, demanding clarity on who made the changes. Obi insisted that Nigerians deserve full disclosure on what was passed, signed, and gazetted, stressing that no nation can progress where laws are manipulated and accountability is absent.
All right, so let's get talking. We still have Ambassador Vansufeli. Thank you so very much, Ambassador, for hanging on.
Thank you.
Very well.
Beautiful. So speak to us on this alleged pardon of the tax law. We thought that pardon was only meant for our budget. We didn't know that the tax that should be introduced to Nigerians with the hope that Nigerians will love to know what is in it is already been pardoned. Just a couple of days back, we learned that the FIRS office in Abuja was set ablaze. We do not know what happened there. But help us. What is your thought on all of this?
Well, if the allegation turns out to be true, that's a serious indictment on this president, and that is gross misconduct, which will warrant impeachment. Because, the legislature is a hallmark of democracy. Any bill that emanates from the executive must go through legislative scrutiny, okay? Must go to that tax law or the tax act emanated from the executive. It's an executive bill. It's an executive bill. Okay. Then the legislature have to go through it and make their input. And it took, series of debates to bring it to where it is today before the president signed it. So if along the line we're now having to see a gazetted copy that is different from the one that was deliberated by the National Assembly and passed at the floor of the House. That means someone has substituted it. And the allegation went further to say that there have been substantial variation or alteration. When you look at the one that is gazetted, it's different from the one that was passed. And in this one that was gazetted, they have added so many provisions and they altered so many provisions. Okay?
Yeah.
So the FIRS is now being given the power to arrest, to make, without court order. Who does that? Okay? The presidency need to speak on this issue. Okay? Because if it is true, that particular law that they've gazetted goes to no issue. It will be set aside. They will set aside for one of legislative impacts or input. Okay, and whoever is responsible for that criminality must be brought to justice. If it is a conspiracy, those who conspired, okay, if it's just executive rascality, then the National Assembly should investigate this proper and do the needful. It's just that it's unfortunate that the National Assembly we have is the one that is standing on the president's mandate. You understand?
Yes.
It is a serious decay, a decay that is unpardonable. That's unpardonable. The presidency cannot think mistake or claim there was a glitch or there was misrepresentation. There is no fault of theirs. They cannot give us that. They should have enough machineries, enough. If the intention was to deceive Nigerians, then this is unfortunate to say the least. It is because it means that public trust is completely eroded. It's completely eroded. Because at the end of the day, you are doing everything possible to just tax poverty, to tax the poor by all means. You want to tax the poor by all means. You know? And it calls for, when the news broke out that France have been brought into the tax implementation system and all that, the presidency came and denied it. You understand? I was going to raise that issue that time. That even the tax law that we have today, the tax act that we have today, have no provision for that alliance. Could it be that they want to use the tax law to muzzle Nigerians? That is why we're not having provisions that were not deliberated in Parliament. Because if you have those provisions, Parliament will not pass it.
Yeah.
They will not pass it because it is a law that wants to bypass the judiciary. Okay? Without court order, you can begin to act in that arbitrary manner. And then you can begin to demand for 20% before tax appeal.
So what does that mean actually? Because we saw here 20% deposit before tax appeal can be heard. What does that mean?
What it means is that if you are before a tribunal, the tax tribunal, on tax evasion and whatever, if you are challenging government, if you are challenging government, for example, that you are not owing, you do not evade tax and all that, but the government is saying no, you are owing this amount of money. If it is decided in the court that you are not owing, the court of first, before you go on appeal, you have to drop 20% of the money they say you are owing.
Wow.
Yes, that's what it means. And so it is arbitrary. It is just like this government's whole life is dependent on tax. And this is a government that are not a part of the people. That's what Peter Obi is saying. That tax is supposed to flourish in a situation, in a condition where you have invested in the people. Yeah, there's no investment. You have disempowered them. Even what they used to have before you came, you took it away. And then you're not saying that they must pay tax. However you are doing it, whatever it is, whether I say until you earn 800,000 naira, you will not be taxed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can't tax poverty. That's the truth. There's nothing to tax under impoverished condition.
All right, I think we just lost Barrister's communication link. I would love to believe that he would be back in a jiffy, so we can, of course, continue with the conversation. And
yes,
just like Barrister did say, yes, you can't tax the poor.
I was even coming.
You can't tax poverty.
Because are you telling me that a person that works in a company that earns 50,000 naira?
No, they actually.
I know. Now I'm just using that. Yeah. I'm just like trying to imagine some things. Let's just say, for instance, now if the government wanted to go through those people that just earn like maybe 100,000 or 50,000. Now when you look at it, you might just be raising how much is now left or how much will be left right now, based on these people, based on the people that are going to be paying from 800,000, people that are earning from 800,000 and all that. So someone that has plans, okay, 200,000 I will go for my savings, go to my savings, then maybe like about 100 or 150 will go for my family or my parent, and all that. How much will not be left? Forget that 800,000 might sound big, but once you start taking 1,000 out of it,
it's no longer 800,000.
Exactly. And he said you can't tax poverty. We don't even have, some people cannot even afford 3 square meal a day. Some people take it upon themselves and say, oh no, I'll just eat only once a day, you know, just to keep up with life. And now you're saying, okay, we should pay tax, we should pay tax, we should pay tax. At the end of it, and I don't know, but I feel that maybe when that time comes, like when we start 1st of January, the way I'm seeing this whole thing, people will protest about this. People will talk about this, because right now we are just, you know, cooling off, we are just relaxing and all of that. But once that day comes and we start paying this tax, we'll now know that there are some things that should be put in place. Government would have put some things in place. I know other countries pay tax, right? But then Nigerians really ready. Are we ready for this? Because Nigerians are so used to, oh, I have my money just for myself, you know. And now that government has regulated this, are we really ready? I want to know about government that they are not really sure that, okay, we want this. They will just wake up one morning and say, let's give these people these things, Jerry, whether they like it or not, they will do it and all of that. But I'm just trying to say that the government should try to, you know, be considerate in some things. You know, even if you don't be considerate about some things in the country, probably be economical or whatever, but at least there are some people that even for them to feed their family, Henry, you know, they need to go extra mile.
Very, very true. You know, we can't keep resounding some of these things because they are reality before us.
Yeah.
And I do not know what the interest of the president is. Well, we're happy we have a barrister back. Thank you so very much, barrister. Sincere apologies for that little break. So you were on to your thoughts. You can finish up on that, please.
Yes, I'm saying that. How do you tax poverty? Taxation is supposed to come from a place of empowerment. And so if you have not empowered people, why should you tax them? That's just my thought about it. That when you invest in people, you create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. You make the ease of doing business flourish. Then by the same token, corresponsively, the people will, you know, pay tax to retain that level of commitment that the government have created. Okay? But when the government isn't doing much for them, where the government's actions, policies, and inactions have put them in more poverty and have made things more difficult for them, and it goes in a wide voyage of its own, frolic of its own, to come up with laborious tax laws, like that is how to solve the problem. And then engage France by the back door when our laws do not make provision for that, and refuse to release that MOU to declassify it. So when you have all that, you know that it's not the government that is sincere to the people. The government is hiding something. I don't know how long it thinks it wants to do that.
Yes, of course. We spoke on the legitimacy of the president himself, which you duly stated, even if the court had given it to him. But at this point, what do you think Nigerians can do to a leader who knows, who is conscious of the fact that, let's even assume, you know, that he wasn't supposed to be there, but he found himself there. At this point, what do you think Nigerians can do? Because for such a personality, he is not answerable to anyone. Nobody gave him the position. He gave it to himself. So what do you think Nigerians can do at this point to salvage the situation and help themselves?
Nigerians should rally around Peter Obi and the energy that he brings to the table. This is not about opposition. This is about doing the right thing. Okay? Nigerians should rally around Peter Obi right now and call for investigation of that matter. Independent investigation, not the one that we carried out by government and they keep lying to us. Okay? it has leaked already. Even the National Assembly, they've seen it that what they passed at the floor of the National Assembly is different from what was gazetted, what the executive intends to use. We have just few days to 2026. Okay? The one that is gazetted goes to no issue. It's not the law that was passed, and so it cannot be used. So as we get into 2026, they have to suspend this tax law. It has to be suspended pending when investigation is carried out and concluded on the one that was passed by the National Assembly. That is what it is. Because any attempt for them to try to enforce this particular law against anyone will lead to litigation. Because the two documents are already in the public domain now. And once you are saying something is fake, the law expects you to bring the copy that you think is valid, was passed by the National Assembly. At the level of the bill, remember that during the hearing, we got a copy of the one that was passed. We got a copy of the one that was passed. There are a lot of copies out there, but they got a copy of the one that was passed. Okay, so as long as it's different from this one that's been bandied around by the executive, then is a valid ground for litigation. Yes, so that a court should make a pronouncement early enough, make a pronouncement on an application to restrain the federal government from enforcing these tax laws because of the scandals and the irregularities that we are faced with, pending the determination of investigation to come up with the one that was passed by the National Assembly. You see, all these things are supposed to be done by the National Assembly, but they will not do it. They will claim they don't know about it. Individuals, civil society groups, and all that, we should put up that. Serap and the rest of that, we put up a court process to that effect and have the federal government restrained. Let that Attorney General of the Federation come to court to argue how that a law was passed and another one is in circulation for implementation.
Yes, Barrister, since the coming of Afam Osigwe as the NBA chair, we've seen some awesome job done by the NBA as a pressure group or as an organization in the cause for fighting for Nigeria, especially with the tinted glass thing, which of course they are following suit with every power they have. Do you think the NBA, this is equally something they would equally love to, to take on? Do you think it's in their purview to take this up equally?
It's public interest. It's public interest. The NBA is supposed to take up public interest matters. If you look at the tinted glass, and it's public interest, it affects everyone. It's a public law, so it's not a personal law, not personal breach. You understand me? It's public breach of law and order. This is also public breach. So the NBA can do that. I don't know the position of the NBA right now on the matter, but it's something within their purview to take up and take it through. We need an order of court first to restrain the government from implementing that law this January. Okay, this January I'm going to get into, because there's a scandal around it. There's substitution somewhere, criminal substitution of the rights legislation. So it must be followed up with rigorous energy. This is the time that Nigerians should come out there. This is not the time to say, I belong to a political party, APC or PDP or whatever. That is not the time for all that. Because I know how stupid some people are. This is not the time for all that. This is the time to look into that document and get to the root of it. Who did what they did, when and how? Who are the culprits? Okay. Who sponsored that conspiracy? Well, that's a coup. Okay. It's a coup on the financial and tax situation of our common collective. Okay. And that insults everyone. That insults everyone. So the persons must not go unpunished. Okay. And the presidency cannot insulate itself from liability because they are the ones that gazetted it. They cannot insulate themselves from liability. They should be able to know the right document. The right document that came to the president's table for assent. That should be the document that should be gazetted, not something else. If anybody have modified any of that thing, modifying all that, and the president signs it, culpability lies in the presidency and everyone responsible.
But Barrister, don't you think it's to unravel all of these things is actually funny? The now popular pastor who was going against the Christian genocide, the pastor from Jos, I guess Pastor Palm or something, he said on an interview that he is sure that this tax thing will not work because it is not going to favor the core northern part of Nigeria. And of course, we saw it. It took the power of a northern representative to indicate or notice or observe the little discrepancies in that particular thing. So do you think that at this point the north is leading in Nigeria when it calls for things that does not favor them? Don't you think it's equally quite challenging that no southern representative was there to voice out some of these things, even if they saw it?
Now, Peter Obi voiced out. We are discussing it. Peter Obi was the one who even brought it to the public domain. The northern guy was the one who brought the issue of the MOU out, issue of the MOU with France and all that. Okay? I know they not kicked against this tax
from the beginning.
But yes, they kicked against it. You know, they had a special session. There was a time they had a special session because I think the governor of Kebbi or Gombe was fiercely against it. Yeah. And they had a special session wherein they had to amend those concerns. They amended those concerns. Okay, and then it passed. They now had to, their representatives have they acceded to those clarifications and those amendments.
Yeah,
and that's why it passed.
They told us that we would regret it. I still remember they told us that we would regret it.
They did because they don't see it as, and I agree with them. You see, I commended that tax that time, but I've always had a clause, and the clause is protecting the revenue, okay, and the tax sovereignty. Okay, those two issues, I raised it. Tax sovereignty and that the government should create an enabling environment to make business to thrive. Yeah. There's no ease of doing business in Nigeria. Anywhere you don't have electricity, it is a hiccup against a business in Nigeria, anywhere where you don't have electricity. So when they talk about ease of doing business in Nigeria, they will be referring you to we have worked on the Corporate Affairs Commission. If you want to register a company, now it takes 2 weeks and all that. That is not the ease of doing business. They refer to that as ease of doing business. That is not ease of doing business. That is ease of registering a business. The ease of doing business has to do with the amenities that allow business to thrive, so that companies will not spend a huge amount of their resources on energy. They will not spend a huge amount of resources on transportation because you don't have a good transport system. So transportation and energy is a huge cost to industrialization. So when you don't have these two, you cannot say you have a country where there's ease of doing business. You can't say that. Registration of companies is different entirely. In fact, in America, you can register a company in the morning and use a certificate to get a contract in the afternoon. Just submit, and you don't even need to go stand anywhere, online. Okay? Yeah. So that is not why it's a place I would say you have ease of doing business. We say the place because there's electricity, there are good roads, transportation system is okay, and the rest of that. So that makes it to flow. Okay? So this case is a very, very important case. On no account should that law be implemented. this January, because the government is set now to collect tax in January using a fraudulent, a forged document to have that done. Okay, at this level, at this periphery, it's still an allegation. And that's why I said I've used the word allegedly. If it turns out to be true, then it goes to no issue. It goes to no issue. They must go and dig up that one that was passed by the National Assembly. But the National Assembly should provide the one that was passed by them. Let that one be gazetted. And let that one be in public domain for implementation.
All right, I think we have to leave it at this point. It's a developing story. And right here on Enterprise Television, we promise to bring them to you as it unfolds. It's a very complex one. Nigerians are here to understand what the tax is about and why they should even pay in the first place. So a lot of education and information needs to be passed across, which has not been done yet. The latest we have is that the federal government selected 20 social media activists to help them. That is not a way, that's not a conduit to even pass information, properly. But